awful day for July, even by this island's standards. It's crap. Meanwhile, the media is all full of nothing but the earth is heating up, and the best one yesterday, there was a story the other day about the rock up underneath cities is boiling like molten lava, you know, and the cities are going. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, someone was asking me the other day about magic, a lay person, should we say, and this person didn't know anything about it, wasn't skeptical, it was just interested, right? So I gave a description, it's off the top of my head, that this guy walked away going, that makes a lot of sense. Now I believe in it. So I want to talk to you about what magic is, okay? What magic is. And use some metaphors and allegories to help explain it. Now, we have, by virtue of us being alive in this five-sense reality, we have five senses, a conscious will, and a nervous system. And these are the three components that allow us to change reality. Now you would say, well, how do you change reality? How do you magic something into being it? You do. If you have an idea for a song or a painting or a piece of furniture or anything in your mind, then you write down on a sheet of paper or a quick sketch or the outline, the lyrics, whatever, and then you produce the finished piece, whether it be a record, a song, a dining room table, or a lovely painting. You've actually created an act of magic. You've taken something that didn't exist in this reality, thought about it in your mind, conjured it inside your mind, and that then exists now in this reality. That's basically what magic is. Using the will to create some changes in the material world, as Crowley said. Now, people say, well, that's not the magic, really. You're talking about, you tell me about sorcery and stuff. Well, yeah, okay. That's also based on the five senses as well, and the nervous system, and the conscious mind, and bringing things into manifestation. So, for instance, a good one is charisma. Charisma comes from a Greek word which translates as having the grace of the gods, meaning that you have an element of your personality that is more noticeable than people around you. So, they talk about people who have it. Now, most people, if they're not NPCs, do possess charisma. And in fact, it's the only thing I think really that you should really concentrate on in your life is developing your charisma. Because it really helps your life and makes it a lot easier. And not because it makes you stand out from the crowd. It makes you safer from the crowd and it allows you to work on yourself. Now, so for instance, in terms of charisma, the first thing with charisma is you don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. This is why all these people who watch conspiracy videos all day, or all these mainstream people who watch global warming documentaries all day, or watch anything like that, they watch the news 24 hours a day. They want to hear about the woes and the worries of the world. They're smashing and suffocating their own charisma because they're taking their life force, and this is aspects of their nervous system, and they're handing it over to these entities, but they have no control over them. So say I can remember when the Live Aid. Remember when Live Aid was those years ago was around, and then people were saying to me, "You going to watch Live Aid?" Yeah, definitely, I'm going to watch it. And it'd be for a good cause. I said, "I don't care about fucking starving people in Africa," and they were shocked. And I said, "You don't care?" Well, I said, "No, it's not I don't care. I don't, I have compassion for their suffering and all that, but there's nothing I can do to help those people. Nothing. Even giving money, it won't help them. So unless I can go there on a plane and I don't have the money to do it, with a load of food and give it to them, There's nothing I can do, so I'm not going to carry that weight of that world on top of me. I saw this young English chap recently, and he was talking about him and his friends were not going to have children because they said it's the only way to stop climate change. And you could see how it smashed him down, you know. And he seemed like a nice enough lad, you know, kind of upper middle class, but he seemed like a genuine, decent chap. But I mean, I thought it was very sad to hear that. So you can't do nothing. That's not going to stop climate change, or if you believe in it, or anything like that. Watching the news and getting all upset about a murder, getting all upset about this, that, and the other, that's not going to help you. That's going to smash your nervous system. It's going to crush your nervous system. So even if you're not interested in magic as such, I guarantee you, if you stop watching the evening news, and even if you go into the alternative world, don't be obsessing over, you know, politics and stuff like that, other than finding it funny. Like for instance, I'm interested in things that are funny or kind of interesting that show changes in the world. You know, like the thing that happened in Ireland in January, where all those people coming out of communities in East Wall and Ballymun and Thingmas. It's best you don't do any of that stuff. So, you know, they destroyed our collective charisma with 9/11. The endless broadcast of those horrors and stuff and people jumping and that kind of thing off the buildings. The buildings coming down. The thing is to just detach yourself. Okay, it happened, it's pretty bad, I understand it, but I can't do nothing about it, so I'm going to go off and do something in my life. And that's how you build your charisma. You don't let others take it. And the same in a relationship. If you're in a relationship with someone who's always negative and talking down and bringing things down, and you know, it's oh whoa, oh shit, it's going to go. You know, they're destroying you. You know, and a lot of them do it for that reason. Like these women who are in relationships with these fellas who are like, always depressed and suicidal. You know, they never commit suicide. They're always going on about, oh, I should end it all. That's a way of destroying those women. That's why those guys seek enablers that they can actually destroy their charisma and bring them and destroy them in that way. By always going, oh, woe is me. Same if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict and being one of those people. You see, you've got to take care of yourself. You say, oh, well, I've got to be there and be my rock for this person. The only person you should love unconditionally is a baby. And up until they're 18, because you have to do that. And then when they're at 19, they're on their own. You love them conditionally, not unconditionally. See, I don't trust people who say I love unconditionally. They're usually fucked up. Now, of people, friends and stuff like that. Or people I see on the street and this kind of crap. Now, so this thing of the nervous system, when you do that, your nervous system is really good. You know, it's firing. It's like a muscle, and charisma can, in many people, not in everyone, can be worked like a muscle. So it's that you consider not watching the evening news and getting upset about election results or things like that. It's like going to the gym. You know, your charisma starts to get stronger. Now, when your charisma gets stronger, it allows you to affect other people because people will start noticing you. There's a famous story of the actor Michael Caine. When he was in the British Army, he was there for weeks before the Sergeant Major noticed him. He said, how come I never saw you before? And he said he hadn't worked on he said he was hiding away. And then when he came out of the army, he decided to be an actor. And then his charisma and people started noticing him. Now, there's the same thing. People will notice you. So you'll find it's easier. You're better in your own skin. People will say that you're fun to be around. You've got an attractiveness about you. Doesn't matter what you look like or anything. You're just someone that they'd like to be in the company of because you make them feel relaxed. Now, you see, that's the beginning of the real sort of sorcery. Because what's happening there is your charisma is directly affecting the other person's nervous system. So therefore, so they're going, oh, you know, that woman, Marion, she's really nice. I really like her. She really makes me feel good. And, whenever I'm around her, the day feels better. Well, Marion's nervous system, her charisma, is now affecting the other people. And they want to be with her. So there's a non-material link there. So there you go. It's already sorcery. There's a non-material link between the two different parties. that doesn't involve any force that you can actually physically see, but nonetheless, it's there. And that's her charisma through the amplification of her mirror and attenuation. See, when you block out things like the TV news, you're attenuating your nervous system down to pure element, pure source. Now, another aspect of that is fascination. That when your charisma is building up, your eyes become interesting to people. People will look you more in the eye. Now, there's a reason for this. And some people had became amazing at this, like Adolf Hitler was one. Adolf Hitler could use fascination, if you read my book Walpurgis Night, in an incredible way. There were stories of, like, diplomats who would storm into his office in Berlin, and, or foreign ambassadors, and he would stand up, shake their hand, look at them and says, yes, yes, and they said, I would just look into his eyes, and it would just be overpowering. I would suddenly have this sense of being at ease. Now, you say what you want. I'm not defending Hitler. I'm just saying he had that power. And that's what happened to Neville Chamberlain. Remember Neville Chamberlain, the British Prime Minister? And he came back. I have here a signed letter from Herr Hitler that Germany will not declare war on the Sudetenland. That kind of thing. Fascinating. How that works is the blood vessels in your eyes. It's the only part of your body where your actual pulmonary system comes to the surface. It's visible, unless you cut yourself. And where does that lead to? At the heart. So if you have a strong sense of and you're talking to people and you're making eye contact with them, but you shouldn't, you're not hypnotizing them. What's happening then is the blood vessels in your eyes are actually affecting the blood vessels in their eyes, and then the combination of the optic nerve and the veins pumping the blood here, it goes down to the heart. It causes hormonal changes in the person. Endorphins are released, and that kind of thing, and so therefore, there's another example of magic. You've affected this other person's. Now, if you do it against their will, it's black magic. But if you do it as a course, just the course of the day, talking, and this person goes, oh, he's got just really lovely eyes. Oh, she's got the prettiest eyes. Blah blah blah. In fact, I'll often find myself attracted and not just necessarily physically or sexually or romantically, but attracted to a woman that has pretty eyes. To me, that thing of the windows of the soul is absolutely true. So that's another way, okay? So you can see now how magic is. It's the nervous systems of you is affecting the nervous system of someone else. And it's causing hormonal changes. And those hormonal changes also cause changes in thoughts. So you may have a bad impression of someone, for all kinds of reasons. Like someone starts at work and a Muslim guy is in there, Muhammad, and you think to yourself, oh, fucking, we're going to have to not be able to eat pork sandwiches and stuff like this kind of thing. You have these negative assumptions you have in your head, stereotypes, and then you get talking to Muhammad, and he's a really nice fella, and then suddenly you're no longer have that against Muslims as a whole that you might have had before that, and because Muhammad's charisma has got to you and changed you. He's physically changed you. On an actual physiological level and consciousness level. So there you see now that you're getting it. That's magic. So that's what magic is. That's very simply what it is. If you want to learn to do things, work on your nervous system. How you do that? Don't be tied in with all this negative stuff on the media and the news. Yes, I know it's real. Yes, I know it impacts lives. Yes, I know it exists. But other than commenting on it or giving possible solutions, don't just go, oh, this is horrible, this is shite, for the sake of it. This is why a lot of newspaper journalists die young. A lot of them get cancer, a lot of them are alcoholics and cokeheads, because they live in a world of negativity. that it actually destroys them. It destroys their nervous system. You know, you meet very few journalists who grow old, you know, unless they're, you know, very few really. They all seem to die young. And that's why, you know, in mainstream journalism now, there seems to be a very high casualty rate in that profession because it's not a good profession in many ways. Freelance journalism is much better, much safer. And also you can pick and choose the kind of stories you want to cover and how you cover them. It's much better for your mental health, and that's magic too, you see, because you're changing chemicals, not chemicals, but you're changing your nervous system and so on. It might cause you to stop drinking and eating better, you know, going for a walk instead of going to the pub. You know, so this is how simple it is. Now, then this person asked me about, like, well, what about people who work with demons and work with gods and work with angels and all this stuff? And I says, yeah, I said, think of the universe as rivers of energy, you know, and you might call them a name, okay? You might have, and you have in your possession a water wheel that allows you to generate power. So what do you need? You need a source of flowing energy, psychic energy to work with. So at the bottom of this, but you only have a water wheel of the same size, right? You're gonna really like the next bit that I'm gonna talk about here. So you have your water wheel. It's a meter wide. That's as big as you can get it, right? Because you're only a mortal human being, and you summon a demon. Say you're doing Solomonic or the Goetia magic, right? And you call upon, now just because they're demons doesn't necessarily mean they're deadly or anything. Some demons are kind of tricksters or funny and stuff. But you summon, you want to find the secret to something. You're trying to understand something, right? Break a code. So you invoke, you summon a demon, you bring him in, you know, whatever. Remember, this is metaphorical language. I'm talking about energy. It's really an energy force you're summoning, right? But we're just using metaphorical languages here, right? And you put your water wheel in the demonic flow, which would be a stream, because it's the easiest. This is why demons are the easiest to summon, or the easiest entities to communicate with, low level entities, what do you call them? And you put your wheel, and then it starts generating energy because it's spinning at a health, and then you're getting so much power out of it, you know. So then you say to yourself, well, I want more power, and you might move up to things like angels. Some in Solomonic magic, say in Kabbalism, say in Golden Dawn rituals, bringing forth your holy guardian angel in Thelema or something. Now, you still have the same size wheel, but now the river's much faster, okay? And you dip it into the river, and you're producing a lot more power because the wheel is moving much faster in a fast-flowing river, okay? But where you have to be really look at it. You have to protect it because the wheel now requires more maintenance because it's under more stress, and it needs more axle grease. That's, you know, this kind of thing. So that would be kind of like you're keeping your psychic energy integrated and strong, maintenance of the psyche, right? So you're getting, you know, but that you know, if I'm just saying, if you go down this road of tapping into energies, remember, I'm talking, when I use terms like demons and angels, I'm talking about metaphors here. They're as real or as allegorical as you want them to be. Now, the next thing is a god, right? Any mortal human who summons a god is doomed, because it's like putting that small meter wide, you know, water wheel into fucking Niagara Falls. It will be ripped off the fucking pivot and smashed below, okay? And that will destroy your psychic energy. You can't summon gods. How the hell does a mortal get this idea they can? What's the proof of that? Wicca. It's one of the reasons Wicca is so dangerous. In Wicca, they actually summon gods. Hecate, Lilith, Diana. Ooh, that's the last. The god force of Diana, Artemis. It's like, you don't even go there. and yet they summon them. They don't invoke them. They summon them, through rituals. And you go to any Wiccan event, conference, they're all rat bags and bits, walking canes, and they're in their 40s with diabetes and stuff like that, and they're really bad headed, teeth are falling, their hair, skin. That's because they're being killed by the energy, the god, their arrogance, their hubris of summoning gods is destroying them. See, no mortal can summon a god. Now, a god can appear before a mortal. Now, we hear these stories in Greek mythology of, the gods appearing before mortals, but they often appear as shapeshifters, as birds and stuff like that. They come in those ways, or thunder, or storms and things like that. But they'll often come as genius, as, you sit down, when Freddie Mercury composed Bohemian Rhapsody, the gods arrived and gave it to him. Same with like Mozart's Requiem Mass. It's the same with Caravaggio's paintings, the Vermeer's paintings. The gods came and gave them that power, and that but they didn't ask for it. They didn't demand it. So anyone who summons gods in rituals, you know, you, it's like in Hinduism, you might chant about Ganesh, the elephant god, to remove obstacles and barriers that's affecting your life in some way. But you don't order Ganesh. You don't say, Ganesh, come down here and remove this inhibitor that's stopping me from getting laid or getting rich. No, you say, I would like, it's almost like a tribute. Remember, and it's also an exchange of energy as well. I'm going to give something. So you might go to the shrine, and then you say, thank you, Lord Ganesh. I keep you in my daily prayers, blah, 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 and this kind of thing. And thank you for continuing your work in removing obstacles from people's lives. Now that's not, and then you leave. You're not saying, Ganesh, do this, or Ganesh, I want this. But that's what they do in things like Wicca. You can't do that. You cannot, or even some like people working in basic magic on their own, they actually summon gods. Now, this is, what's the old expression? Before they destroy them, the gods make people mad. And you'll see that with Wiccans and stuff. They go insane, a lot of them. And you see, a lot of them go nuts. And then they just vanish. So whom the gods wish to destroy, they first make mad. So that's what they do. You cannot do that. This is why we have things in, mythological things like the Norns and the Fates, the Morgana, this kind of thing. There's an system to the universe that must be maintained. So, I'm not saying you should do any of these things. I'm just saying, these are the allegories. I'm using them. The reason why people invoke or tap into non-human consciousness is to avail of psychic powers that they might not have. So, for instance, the cunning folk in England, they used to do things like summon the king of the fairies, Oberon, and they would ask Oberon to find missing money. Say someone lost money, and amazingly they would. And now you could say, well, Oberon actually showed them where. No, they would have a flash of insight. Luke, that's the origin of the word Lucifer. Luke, a flash of insight, and they say, I bet the money's I bet the money you lost is in the garden shed behind the tomato plant pots, and there it is. So you've gone beyond that. You've seen, because the person that has lost the money or is missing the money, your charisma is now tapping into their nervous system, and you're actually able to say, oh, this is how they lost the money. And you did that by calling upon Oberon, the king of the fairies. But you would never, I see like these magic groups on Facebook, and you see women saying things like, there's this guy at work, I really have the hots for him, but he's married. I want to get rid of his wife, so I called upon Lilith to break their marriage up so I could and I was like, what? And then the other one's going, yeah, yeah, I call upon. And then you don't see these people after a year or two because they're all dead. They've all, firstly, what they've done is profane. And secondly, what they've done, they've tried to alter the path of another person's destiny, which is, which the Norns or the Fates will get you for that one. And then the other thing is that they actually made a demand of a god or a goddess. The arrogance, the hubris, and one thing we know, all the mythologies tell us that the gods, they take being ordered around by a mortal. I mean, look at Archetypes and Athena. The weaver, she turned her into a spider. You've got, that's what I'm thinking. Bohemian Grove, weaving spiders are not welcome here. That's why they have the owl. It's Athena, Minerva. But yeah, so that's all there is to it. It's the amplification of the nervous system and the heightening of the senses allows you to access to powers that, I want to say powers, I say to, because I would have found that in some societies everyone would have been able to this access to experiential, again, what's the word I would use? Experiences and methods of transcending your this what you're inside already, and moving beyond that. So that's why creativity is so. I'm always, how many years I've been telling you here, be creative, do something, do your hobbies, do anything, be creative, because that's amplifying and attenuating your nervous system. Very important to trim your nervous system down to what you need rather than what society takes from you or other people take from you. And that's all magic is. Okay? So and you can go about it any way you want. You can join a magical order, but be very careful of the rituals and stuff. Other people doing, make sure they're in the rituals that don't summon gods, or even you shouldn't even be even summoning holy guardian angels is like, also this stuff's incredibly difficult. I mean, it's not easy. I think that's why Crowley and people like that work on with Choronzon, because Choronzon's at the higher level of demonic energies. So it's a way of safely working in that kind of near God level with something that can be easily controlled. Well, there's a fail safe. There's no fail safe with a God. And if you look at like angels, I'm just saying these are again energy forces. I'm talking about them. They've got a kind of arbitrary judicial nature about them. It's almost like the angels are like the turnaround gods in Egyptian religion, the Ka, the wisdom. That's why they often hold, in classical art, angels are often holding swords, sort of judgment, or the scales, the weighing scales. So if you've cursed someone who didn't set out to do you personal harm, I mean, when I say set out to do you personal harm, I'm talking about they sat down and says, I'm going to get that person, I'm meaning you by name, it will always backfire on you, because you can't do that. You're sending an energy stream at something that can't be. See, it's only if let me show you how it works. Suppose you're at work and some guy goes, I'm gonna fucking get his job, right? And start spreading, saying things about, oh, he had a criminal record or something like that. And it's not true. What's happening then is he's pouring his his nervous energy into something that's not that's can't receive it. So for instance, if it's not true, if they make up lies about the person, the energy on the other side can't be absorbed because it's not compatible. It's not true. It's it's like those things in electronics: true, false, yes, no, on, off. And or gates in electronic theory. If it's not if true if true, then yes, but it's never true, so it's never yes. So what happens then is that flow of energy never reaches attachment, and it bounces back. It bounces back at the person who's trying to cause trouble, and it always goes back. and it always does. Now, the telltale signs of someone who's damned, so when you've cursed someone and you're then damned because of it, uh, it's always the same thing: poor health, poor mental control, and social isolation. That's the number one, is social isolation. You'll even see it online. They don't have the only people they have is like social media friends. After a while, are people they can blackmail or control. Other than that, everyone else sees through them. I don't want that person anywhere near me, and they'll make it. They'll slowly delete them from their lives. And where if you see someone on social media or even YouTube who's not working a gig and it's just themselves and they have a big following, someone like Neil Oliver, well, that's Neil Oliver's magic. This is the magic of Neil Oliver, because he's a regular fella and people like that. And they have big audiences because they have a big soul and a big consciousness, and people are drawn to that, and that's charisma. Social isolation, someone who's been, and that's banishment, is what happens to people who, you see that a lot of the Trump derangement syndrome crowd. Now, what does that also lead to? Poor health. It's poor health and poor mental health, lack of control, instability, bouncing from one thing to a different person every other day. Uh, just chaos and internal, because the magic, as the title of the video says, is a science of psychic technology. And your psyche is a laboratory, and if you have a laboratory where the test tubes are thrown on the floor and things are spread around and the microscope is on it somewhere where you can't find it, well, that's you're not going to be able to do good science. But if you have an ordered lab where everything is assessed and labeled and thing, well, the same thing as you'll be able to do good science. Well, same thing with your psyche. Same thing. You have to have your psyche clean. Now, outside magic, you should be all doing this anyway. So don't let the weight of the world crush you down. Don't be coupling yourself to forces you can't control. Like in Ireland, the real black magic one is getting people to call politicians by their first name, because then it seems like they're making a request. Leo, do this for me, will you? Like, and they won't do it for you. So what happens that to you? You end up being a slave, because you're asking them and you're giving your power over to someone that doesn't deserve it. You know, safeguard your psychic power like Fort Knox. So, really isn't much else to say today. I hope I made that a bit more understandable to you. And yeah, it's very interesting stuff. So work on your nervous system and build your charisma up. So, sanguine gnosis and loads of love. Take care of yourselves. Might make a video tomorrow. I probably will make one tomorrow. Look after yourselves. Take care.